Hey, Slider Crusaders, just like the Georgia voter ID law doesn't actually require an ID, here is Biden's infrastructure bill that has almost no infrastructure in it. Here's Steve Ducey talking to Psaki.
Only 5% of the spending in this package goes towards roads and bridges, and I'm curious why that number is so low in something that is being sold as an infrastructure package.
We're actually selling it as a once-in-a-century or once-in-a-generation investment in partly our infrastructure, but partly industries of the future.
Oh, that's how we're selling it. That was Peter Ducey. Apologies. Joel Griffith is here from Heritage Foundation. Joel, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, man. Hey, it's just an investment in industries in the future, Joel. So if it's not on infrastructure, describe the takeover of our economy. What is this bill if not infrastructure?
No, the numbers are astounding. More than 9 in every $10 in this bill go to things other than roads, bridges, seaports, and airports. For instance, $174 billion goes to electric vehicle industry. That number dwarfs by tens of billions of dollars the total amount spent on roads, bridges, seaports, and airports. And that's just one component of this. There's a $52 billion line item that goes to monitoring domestic industrial production and those industries. $52 billion just to monitor it. And this looks like something out of a grand Soviet 5-year plan. Far more than anything that we expect out of United States Congress.
Yeah, what does that mean? What is that? Monitor what?
Monitoring domestic industrial production, $52 billion to monitor it. There's a big push in this, about $300 billion that is actually focused on manufacturing. Now, of course, we all want the United States to manufacture. And over the last few years, we've actually seen all-time record highs in industrial output. But to have hundreds of billions of dollars that are actually going to be printed and borrowed, going to target government-favored industries, that's not a free market. That is a centrally planned economy being sold to us as an infrastructure package. You know, I thought we won the Cold War many years ago, but now we seem to be actually embracing this idea of Washington, D.C. determining the manner in which our economy should grow. That's not freedom, and it's not going to help the middle class.
That's wild. And Psaki there admitted that it's being sold as. Like, she just laid out the marketing campaign, and it's working. For whatever reason, infrastructure polls well and focus groups well. And if you just call it infrastructure, then people don't ask any questions like you have. My concern is obviously it's going to pass. Now, they're going to be really sneaky about it. What do you know about the parliamentarian procedures that they're going to use to actually pass this thing?
Yeah, most people aren't familiar with this. It's pretty arcane, but it's very important. To get most legislation through Congress, particularly on matters like this, you have to have a supermajority in order to avoid a filibuster. That's a 60 votes out of 100 in the Senate. However, there's a bit of a loophole here. If you pass a piece of legislation and you need to come back and reconcile it or just revise it, you can actually do that with a bare majority. Now, the parliamentarian of the Senate decides what qualifies as a piece of new legislation or a piece of legislation that's going to be reconciliation. And she has already determined that that this can actually be passed by reconciliation, meaning that the Senate might pass the less controversial components of this infrastructure package. For instance, the parts that actually deal with infrastructure. And then the leftists that are in the Senate could go ahead and ram through the controversial pieces and not have to have that 60-vote supermajority. They can now do it with a bare majority. And to think that we might have the biggest expansion of federal government power in our lifetimes, your lifetime and my lifetime, certainly, to think that they can do this with a bare majority under the guise of infrastructure is frightening and is astounding.
Yeah, that's remarkable. In California, I have to